Hello and welcome to Lochrin Basin in Edinburgh. Yes, Scotland. The basin is the terminus of the Union Canal, which connects Edinburgh to Falkirk, and the canal is 200 years old this year, which is why they're having a bit of a birthday party for it, with a cavalcade of canal boats. The basin's not huge, but boasts some visitor moorings as well as some permanent residential berths. The canal bends around almost immediately and stretches into the distance heading west out of the city. Here's Panacea, one of the charity-run boats that would be taking part in the procession, its volunteer crew busily tidying up and preparing for the occasion, with the inevitable bunting being tied to the roof, along with some artworks. A few yards further along saw this Sea Otter narrowboat, likewise being flagged up brightly for the trip. This purple widebeam was to be my initial host, the Lochrin Bell, run by a social enterprise which promotes the benefits of the canal to local communities. And yes, there was bunting. There was also quite the breeze, good for the flags, less so for steering a boat. I wondered if Scottish ducks quack with a local accent, but apparently not. If you've ever wondered why winding holes for turning are called winding, not winding, this glorious demonstration by the widebeam all aboard shows exactly why, with the bow held tight by a rope to a bollard and a combination of the engine and the breeze pushing the boat around to face the other way.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, very well.
As usual, this was an event not just for humans, but the ship's dogs as well. Plus, Mr. and Mrs. Swan, with their new babies, came by to see what all the commotion was about. Our departure began as you might expect. While the band played, the VIP guests and me filed aboard.
Thank you. I wish you
A toot set the fleet going. Hopefully, the horn falling off was not an omen of doom. The gearbox was engaged and Lochrin Bell began to move. Quite swiftly as it happens, out of the basin, past the many spectators. The anniversary party was underway.
We are celebrating 200 years of the Union Canal, and it's been quite a journey in regard to it was the last of the Scottish canals built. It was built in 4 years, an incredible, absolute pinnacle of canal engineering. They were able to make this canal, which was known as the Mathematical River, 31.5 miles, exactly the same level, 240-foot contour, followed all the way from Falkirk right through to Edinburgh. And it absolutely transformed Edinburgh, supporting the growth of the town, bringing in coal, bringing in timber, bringing in stone into the heart of Edinburgh, and then extracting all of the manure from all those horses out to the farmland.
Almost immediately, a potential obstacle presented itself. A lift bridge. Although said obstacle was not really any threat, since even as we approached it was doing as its name suggests, and being lifted. Our path was clear. We went past narrowboats on the rope walk moorings.
Okay, you're open.
A handful of boats in the flotilla were following on behind. And a band played in the bow. We'd barely gone a mile before we reached our first pit stop, Harrison Park, where the crew stepped ashore and brought us neatly up to the pontoon with a practised deftness. Crowds of people milled around the towpath and the stall set up for the day. It all seemed very jolly.
There's a study being done recently about health and well-being. It was done by Glasgow Caledonian University. People that live 3 miles within the 3 mile radius of a canal keep better health. So the health and well-being this brings, people walking their dogs, pushing their buggies, that's basic. But then we have canoeists, we have paddleboarders, we have boaters, we have cyclists. So this is all adding to the health and well-being of Scotland as a nation. So Scottish Government are actually recognising this, and they're actually investing quite a lot of money into the canals. Obviously we could do with more, but we always could do with more.
As we paused, the wide beam came past that I'd spotted being decorated earlier, also with musicians in the bow. The quartet premiered a piece composed specially for the occasion. The instruments they're playing are unusual, in that they were made from a tree that blew down across the canal 20 years ago, and the man who made them was there.
It was a 150-year-old or so willow tree that grew in the banks of the Union Canal at Harrison Park, and the Millennium Storm, the gale brought it down, and it was going to be chipped up and basically discarded, and I got in there, luckily. I take trees with historical connections to either an event or a person, and I basically make instruments to celebrate moments like this, moments in time. Commemorations and bicentenaries and centenaries. And I've had 20 odd years to do it, but I ended up doing it in 8 weeks, finishing it just a couple of days ago.
It was time to set off again, but I'd jumped ship from Lochrin Bell, which once again led the pack, over to Panacea, which has a bigger bow for filming. And the quartet continued to play. We waved at any spectators, tried not to be decapitated by any low bridges, and wrapped up warm against the breeze. The boat I joined is run by the Sorted Project, which helps people in recovery from mental health, substance use and complex health issues.
More often than not, people are interested in getting on the tiller, so they do want to have a go at sailing the boat. And for us, that's really about what we're bringing to the canal. So it really is about helping people to understand that they can take control, and if they can control the canal boats, then they can take control of their day-to-day lives. We invite them to get involved in off-water activities as well. So in partnership with Scottish Canals, we have an area at Hermiston, just outside Edinburgh, that we call Bridge 10, and it's a beautiful, peaceful area. It'd been quite neglected, so we've completely started to re-establish Bridge 10, so planting fruit trees, wildflowers, wild bulbs, and creating a space where people can reflect, and people get that sense of instant achievement, so they've done something straight away that's created an improvement, and that's really positive for well-being.
We approached Slateford Aqueduct. It first goes over Water of Leith, and alongside a railway line, and finally an Edinburgh street far below. That the canal is usable nowadays is due to a massive restoration at the turn of the century.
The Millennium Project was reinstating the canal because it had gone into, bits of it had been built over, it wasn't complete, you couldn't get from one end to the other. There's a big residential area in Edinburgh called Wester Hailes, and some of that had actually been built on top of the canal. The M8 motorway came across and split the canal into two, and all that has been reinstated.
Since the Millennium Link, we've seen over £2 billion worth of public and private regeneration on the banks of the canal. Almost 9,000 new houses. We've seen lots of jobs created. We've seen cafes, we've seen pubs, we've seen restaurants growing up on the canal. The canal itself has a great new future. Our whole challenge here is to make sure it has a purpose for the next 200 years. We know that it lost its way in the 1960s. What we've got to do is make sure it has a relevance. Navigation will always be at the very heart of what we do, but it's important that we find lots of new markets. The rowing, the canoeing, the cycling, the paddleboarding on the canal, and just people going out there and enjoying the green and blue space and relaxing in that space. Mental health, physical health is all improved by this incredible corridor across Scotland.
No boat trip would be complete for me without a cheese sandwich, of course, and I'm pleased to say they were in evidence. Likewise, no boat trip is complete without a trip down the weed hatch to remove a load of old grot that's caught around the propeller. And so it came to pass on this cruise too. That dealt with, we continued along the Union Canal, and I'll let this play for a bit as a cruising montage.
Theirs. The fishermen tend to use the pallets, people now sort of.
The weather was now beginning to look dubious, and the odd drop of rain began diving from the sky.
So we're going to do a whole viewing. Oh, I need to go with Ryan.
There's still 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yay! Still got 7.
We were within mere yards of that day's end point when the skies truly opened the plug hole and let rip with a proper Scottish deluge. I claimed my role as mere passenger meant I should stay inside in the dry, whereas the crew of the boat were burdened with mooring it in the chucking rain. Day one was over. Now I had to get to Falkirk, ready for day 2.